You're welcome to start early. Okay, so we'll just see. We'll see what happens because apparently that's it. We're probably live. Who knows? Cheers. Hello from England.
Cheers. We're live. Woohoo! Do not adjust your television set. It is not Saturday.
We can repeat it Saturday. People will work it out. And we like to be spontaneous, don't we? We don't like people to get bored with what we're doing. Oh, where have you gone? Oh. There we go. Have you just gone? Oh, you're back again. So we're doing the law of attraction. I'm very interested in this week with you, Teresa Collins, because it's trial 7, the Plight of Insight trial. Listen up, you're a long time dead. That's what I've put there. What to do, why to do it, how to do it, and how you know when you've passed the trial. But I've got all sorts of stuff in here, but as I have a real live scientific mystic in front of me, I would prefer to have your insights. And I'm going to begin with my big news.
Can we back it up a bit?
Go on then.
Because we didn't do. I'm Teresa Collins of Blended Spirit, and you are.
Who are you? Who are you again? I'm Jennie Kitching, Hypnowoman.
Yes. And you are watching Co-Creating with the Cosmos. This is our regular broadcast for Saturday morning at 8 a.m. but I am taking off for a weekend retreat. So we are pre-recording this. Normally you guys have a chance to come on and comment. So what we'll do is we'll open the comments and my dear friend Jennie will monitor my comments for me. So if we don't even know what we're doing. We're trying to pre-record this for Saturday, but we may be on live as well on Thursday. So if you are on here and you want to give us comments, great. If you are joining us on Saturday morning, great, because we're techno and it doesn't matter. We just showed up and we're showing off. That's the gist of it. And we are also following Jennie's amazing book, Law of Attraction, and it is available on Amazon. I know a bunch of you have bought it already, but a bunch more need to buy it because it's great to have it in your hands and hold it and be able to go back and forth and check out what we're saying. That's last week's. Be careful what you wish for. You might get it. What to do?
You just keep talking, Teresa.
Okay, I'll just keep talking. We're editing. We are not techno. We are spiritual.
I know it's really difficult for you to keep talking, as we were discussing before we came live. But just keep talking. Just be careful with it. Yeah, for some reason it didn't save. And I'm doing it now. I'm doing it. It's called the Plight of Insight.
Right? Everybody wants authentic. It doesn't get any more authentic than this, guys. And I'm out in my garden today because I am already in chill mode, so I refuse to actually go into my studio. And I wanted to come out here and do it in my garden. So we'll start with a card while she's sorting that out and get everybody in the vibe. Ooh, Extremes is the card. I like this. This reminds me of the pendulum swing, and actually everybody kind of is going through it right now. We had that extreme of everybody locked in the house, and now we have the extreme of everybody out. And either way is kind of unsettling. So the trick is to find the balance. Because when we go one way or the other, it's a little bit hard. And then we also have gratitude, the energy of gratitude. Easy peasy, babe. When you're feeling extremes, the best thing to do to switch your energy and any kind of like negative or lower vibration is to step into that energy of gratitude and just think of all the things you have to be grateful for. And even if you don't think there's anything to be grateful for, there is your phone you're talking on. There is the backyard. There is the shoes on your feet. There is the coat you have to wear. Many, many, many things to be grateful for. Jennie, you look like you have something to say.
I did.
I said you look like you had something to add there.
Oh no, listening attentively. I'm just putting comments on. Yes, we have comments on in case anybody does comment and notices that we've started early. And this week's trial is the Plight of Insight, and communication with your higher self, if you like. And I'm just so excited to speak to you because you do have these insights, not just for yourself, but for others. And I want to tell you my big news because I was quite...
Drum roll. Drum roll, please. What's your big news?
It's not always good stuff. I've spent a lot of time and effort, as you know, putting a lot of my lovely stuff, hypnosis stuff, NLP stuff, stop smoking stuff, etc., on as courses on mastermind.com. And we've had lots and lots of encouragement from the lovely Tony Robbins. Don't we love him? Yes, we do. Dean Graciosi, and he keeps coming on. And they've sent me videos this morning to encourage me to put more on there. I mean, I know I'm only a number of many people they're trying to encourage, but I'm encouraged, okay? I've put loads of stuff on. I've spent hours uploading things. I've done the structure. I've put the certificates on. And guess what?
What?
They've taken me down.
Why?
Apparently I'm violating their terms and conditions. So, what's my higher self telling me about this? I thought, oh, it's all sorted now. I've got everything up there. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's wonderful. All of my hypnosis, my NLP, the stop smoking. I was going to put the weight control on, and then there'll be a phobia and a panic attacks one, and it'll all be there on mastermind.com, Hypnowoman. And they've taken me down.
Well, I would be having a conversation yelling at people.
Well, it's all automated, isn't it? I've got an email that I can't reply to saying, do you want me to read it? And then you can tell me what you...
No, I'm reading the energy of it instead.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, there's two school of thoughts there. It's the stand up for yourself, and or obviously there's a better platform waiting for you. What's your first instinct?
Well, this is where it gets complicated, because I think my first instinct was shock this morning, because I kind of read it as I opened my eyes, which is perhaps not a good thing. I thought, oh, why would they do that then? And then realizing that there isn't that conversation that you can have with someone because it's automated. I've just violated their terms and conditions. So I suppose logically, I've got to look at the terms and conditions and see how I violated it. I would imagine it was because I was offering a certificate, but this is my imagination. I don't know if it's insight. And then the other thing is competition, maybe.
No, I don't think it's competition.
How would I ever be any competition to anybody on there? Little old me. I don't. So
no, it's not competition energy.
I don't know.
The card is assessing, so I would go back into the terms and conditions and see what it is. It might just be a tweak.
Yeah.
Like try not to get over the moon without facts.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Right. So that would be my higher self spiritual advice there.
Thank you.
And the card is resilience. Yeah, yeah. Actually want it? Then frickin' fight for it, chicka. And wisdom, you have so much wisdom to share. So fight for it. It's worth it. You have a lot of wisdom to share. You're not breaking any rules. See what you've tweaked out, and then go for it.
Well, maybe it's a difference between the American model of teaching people this stuff and the British model, but the General Hypnotherapy Standards Council is worldwide, and
it could just be a tweak, though. It could just be an error. You're assuming right away
they're out to get me.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Absolutely. That energy about to get me. Absolutely. Which is a great example for our viewers. That's an awesome example for our viewers, because we can get really lost in the story. We really can. Yeah. And then we lose ourselves and we forget what the original reason we were trying to do stuff. You were on there to make an input.
This is my question to you, I suppose. Knowing the difference, how do we, mere mortals, know the difference between what's our insight and a redirection, like a little poke, you're going in the wrong direction, stop doing that and do something else, and shut that down, go and do something, or fight for what you believe in. And it makes you question what you believe in and all of that. And so it's knowing that difference, I suppose, really.
Yeah, so in this case scenario, my advice would be to journal the fears, journal out the emotions of they're out to get me. Take a 24-hour, step back, look at it logically as an observer, and then tap in and ask again.
Yeah.
That's what my advice would be. I know there's a misalignment because that's why I jumped off the bandwagon. So it may just be a matter of, because it's a new thing, it just needs to be organized. Right?
Yeah.
So there could be like some behind the scenes quirks that they're working on too. So trying to not assume that it's always us too. Maybe it's something going on with them. You know, especially as empaths and healers, we often have lessons that we're helping people with, and it's not always our lesson. And my brilliant husband's actually the one who came up with that in the probably about 2 or 3 years ago. I can remember I had a situation and I looked at it and I journaled it and I channeled on it and I flipped it around and up and down, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me why it was happening. And he said, maybe you were just part of the play. Maybe it wasn't your lesson. You just happened to be in that time and place for what they needed to hear. And it made sense. And once I was able to come to that terms of it, then I was able to release it. Yeah. I can't remember the situation now, but yeah.
Yeah. And also knowing that you're big and tough enough to take it on the chin, whereas somebody else might not have been able to be that person at that time for those others, you know. Yeah. So it's a kind of compliment in a sense. So yeah. I'll start with the what to do, and I really want you to comment throughout. So the usual pattern of this is the title, Trial 7, the Plight of Insight Trial. What to do, why to do it, how to do it, and you know when you have passed the trial when. Then we've got the trial's tips and tricks, like why doesn't my soul, spirit, higher self just tell me, for goodness sake? Thinking for yourself and the value of sleep. Your waking brain and the downloading that occurs as soon as you wake up. Who am I again? Where am I? Who am I with? Who am I waking up with? And where does your consciousness go when you are asleep?
That's an interesting one. That's a big one for me too, because I think I'm going to school every night, to be honest. Yeah. I don't actually think I'm here. I think I'm attending some kind of higher learning right now.
I know that for a fact. I absolutely know that for a fact. I knew that a while ago, that when I did the Course in Miracles, which is one lesson every day for a year, which is absolutely brilliant. I just recommend everybody to do it.
With a grain of salt.
Sorry?
With a grain of salt.
With a grain of salt and perhaps a little bit of pepper. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know the words mean different things to different people, but the poet in me likes having a phrase you don't quite understand and you're in a rush getting to work, whatever. I was at the time. I've got this phrase and there's a little paragraph underneath and whatever. And part of the process is to say the phrase to yourself every hour on the hour, for example. And then by the time you go to bed, that phrase means so much more than it did in the morning. Like the one, as we've discussed, is I see only the past. What's all that about? The only reason you know what to do with a cup, because you see only the past. So little things like that. And one was that comes to mind, you're never upset for the reasons you think. What does that mean? What does it? And by the end of the day, it's as if, Teresa, by saying that phrase, it almost brought situations to me that may have happened before, but I would have ignored. But I was more open to them. Oh, that's got something to do with this phrase. Oh, okay. And the reason why I've said that is because it says at the beginning, what to do. Ask yourself today continually, how is my inner self communicating with me? What am I inspired by today? Write down your dreams, your inspirations, and all coincidences and observations. Why to do it? If you are not recognizing the feedback you are getting, you stop listening, stop believing, and ultimately shut down. Your higher self kind of gives up on this version of you, concentrating instead on the other versions of you that are still paying attention and questioning life. Knowing your own particular way of communicating with your higher self is imperative to your success in life. How to do it? Find out where your inspiration occurs. When you have not been stimulated by outer sources such as television, internet, and others, how do you feel and what's on your mind? If you suddenly have a good idea or want an ice cream for no apparent reason, or a song just pops into your head, then that will most likely be from your inner self. Over to you, Teresa Collins, Scientific Mystic.
You're brilliant. You're really brilliant. Jen, I think there's two parts there, though. The inner self and higher self are actually two very different things. Inner self is your GPS that you've come with, and it's got all the answers. And you're right, it's not something you've learned, it's something you came with. So if you can tap in and think where you've heard that, like the Course in Miracles, then that is knowledge. That's a little bit different. If you have something, like you said, that you just want or you just feel, that's your inner self. But then your higher self is the guide. Your higher self is the one that says, go left, go right. Yes, you're on the right path. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
I like your, where does your inspiration come from, though? I love asking that question. Because often when we get stuck, it's because we're not inspired anymore. So even asking the questions helps the universe start to bring us the answers.
I often ask, for what reason? And I can understand this if I've been somewhere for the past couple of days and I must have heard music or something. And I think I've mentioned this to you before. Though when I was living on my island, where there was no music I was exposed to because I was just sitting there writing my books. So
I love that.
And if I
That's one of my favorite sentences.
When I was living on my island.
I said that's what, I was living on my island. Yeah.
So I wasn't exposed to any English music, is my point, for a long time. And yet I would still wake up in the morning with a refrain from a song. And to get my attention, I'm interested in your opinion on this, to get my attention, it was usually a song I didn't like. A popular song. And I would write down the lyrics, and I think, but sometimes I didn't have Google to ask then. Sometimes it would be a phrase from a song, popular song, but I wouldn't know the name of the song. And I just have to keep, like the Course in Miracles idea. So this is, as you say, the difference between perhaps knowledge that I'd read at some point and I'm repeating back to you, or inspiration, maybe. Because I would think, well, I haven't heard that song and I wouldn't purposely have listened to it because I don't like the song. And yet the lyrics made so much sense to me as the day progressed, because it was if this head tape wouldn't shut up. And I'd realised then when I had the opportunity to investigate, oh, it's this song. Oh, it's this band. No, I didn't like them. Yet that particular phrase that was inspired in them, how they got it, like all good writers and artists and whatever get these flashes of inspiration. So the whole song might have been about some particular subject, usually romance, but that particular lyric was appropriate to whatever I was going through at the time and seemed to be inspiration. Is that along the lines
Yeah,
of
and I totally agree. And I think that's guidance too. And that's how they can communicate with us, right? Like it's a frequency they can communicate on. And then the repeating usually means that it's the messages. When we hear things over and over and over again, that's the hey, investigate, check this out, look deeper. When people first start seeing things, they see the numbers. And if you keep seeing a number, once you figure out what the message is, then the guide sends you a different number. So that's why you keep seeing the same repeating, because you haven't figured it out with the messages. So it's like they just keep sending the same message until you, and then once you do, then you move on. It's to the next one, right?
Well, I had a swimming pool. I have to tell you this one. And you're supposed to empty the swimming pool in the winter, because I know it only got down to 17 degrees in roads, but you're supposed to empty the swimming pool. And I didn't. I thought I might still want to swim in the middle of winter, and it's still warm. Though, because it needs constant attention, long story short, it didn't only go green, it kind of went black and sludgy and horrible. And that was horrible to open the front door to. It was just nasty. There was no way I was ever going in there again. And I had one of the songs, it was probably Club Tropicana, drinks are free, fun and sunshine, there's enough for everyone, all that's missing is the sea, the beautiful sparkling water. So things would happen in my head all about water and sparkling and clear. And I would, and it was such an incongruent thing, incoherent, where I opened the door and think, that is so not clear, cool water. That is disturbing. If anybody falls in there, they'll die. I was worried about them. There was that happening, and there was also, I bought this beach buggy, and the beach buggy, for some reason, the bars were in such an arrangement that nobody could get into the back seat. Ridiculous. Okay. And so these were really like cast iron bars, like a network of like roll bars, but it had been converted, so there were back seats, but nobody could get in them. And another reason why the pool was so black is because all the trees were starting to shed their leaves and going into the pool. You had to fish them out every morning. And I was putting chlorine in, but nothing was working. And so because of the messages I was getting, I thought, this is an interesting exercise, Jen. So I would imagine, as I sit outside drinking my coffee, that this black, sludgy, things were growing in it. You know, the insects, the water boatmen and things were actually growing and thriving inside this pool.
One person's swamp is another person's paradise.
But I imagined it being crystal clear because I'd had the experience of that. And it was interesting to me, Teresa, this is how I've got no idea how it's going to happen. We're very isolated where I lived. So I'm going to imagine it's sparkling clear again. And logically, the only way I could see that happening is the whole of the water be siphoned out and fresh water put in. And that's the only way you'd ever find me back in that pool. So it was connected to the trees and the falling leaves, and the buggy was right by the pool. And the buggy was a problem because it wanted somebody to go in the back seat. Anyway, there was somebody on one of the Facebook groups in Greece that was selling a motorbike and really needed help because he was going back to England, etc. And I looked at this and I thought, oh, that's perfect. I'll buy that motorbike. The guy that came for the motorbike had loved the idea that he could go. He was one of these guys that had all sorts of tools. Loved the fact when he saw the dilemma. He was also kind of caretaker for like 40 villas on the island. Saw the pool as a challenge. Oh my goodness, what's happening there? I'll come back with my stuff. Came back with his stuff, He came back with his chainsaw, chainsawed all the branches off the trees, and a special tool that cut through the bars of the buggy like a knife through butter. Solved all of my problems in one go. Within 3 days, I kid you not, that pool was sparkling. And didn't charge me a bean. He was just really pleased that I'd bought his motorbike. And I thought, do you know, that worked. That's just one story. I've got loads like that. But that's
a pretty fantastic story, Jen.
And I've got many like that. And you asked me a while ago about, tuning into what I actually believed. And I believe this stuff. And I wrote this book because it works. Because when you get, and I'm telling people here on this live, because if you do really, as you said, keep questioning why you're given this insight, even though the reality in front of you is completely different to what you want it to be, if you can have the presence of mind to say, I've got no idea how it's going to happen, but this is what I want to happen. Maybe it was easier for me to imagine a sparkling pool than $500,000. I don't know. I want to try it with the $500,000 now, because if it works in one instance, how come it can't work in another? It must.
There's no reason. It's all energy, right? And especially because you know what? Honestly, it's easier for me to fathom $500,000 than a pool getting cleared. So wow. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And everybody's got something, haven't they? I mean, with some people, it's health. They can't imagine their disease going away just like that.
Yeah.
And yet that's the very thing that they probably need to do to prove to themselves that this stuff works, that you are the creator of your reality. With other people, it's about finding love. Everybody's got their thing. And they might say, oh, clearing a pool, that's easy. You get these chemicals now. Oh, $500,000, that's easy. But what you can't do is cure your own health. You can't, because you've had the scan. Yeah. But if it works in one, this is my question to you, Teresa, works in one situation, surely it's got to work in another.
Of course. It's just a matter of power of belief and understanding anything is energy. The pen is the same as the cup. The cup is the same as the table. The table is the same as the house. It's all molecules and atoms and energy and light. Frozen light, Jen. Frozen light.
Frozen light.
Right? So suspending our own disbelief. We had a client yesterday in her session, it kept saying, believe in it so strongly that it has no choice but to show up. And I know I've heard it from somewhere, but they kept repeating this for her because what she wants is a little bit outrageous. But you know what? It has no choice to show up.
Mm. And I suppose sorry?
I said stretch for the outrageous. Really test it.
And that's where you meet your resistances, don't you? And both of us work with other people's resistance. So it's important to move through those, isn't it? To acknowledge them rather than that kind of positivity that doesn't process.
Well, and it's also the biggest joy. It's the biggest successes. If we want something and it just came like that, would it have as much meaning?
Mm. Mm.
We have to, it's in the trials and the tribulations that we receive the most rewards. So understanding that. And the best stories are that. You don't just tell a story without any drama.
Mm. Yeah.
There's got to be the hero. This is kind of that hero archetype. The hero's got to have a villain, a challenge, something to overcome.
Mm. And I suppose what we're talking about is the struggle of that, when I say the plight of insight, almost sometimes wanting it too much, the trying of it kind of blocks it a little bit sometimes, rather than being easy about it. Easier to be to believe that a swimming pool or a buggy can be altered. But I think this is the thing, Teresa. I didn't give it too much attention. So I had these inspirations, I suppose, and this is just one story. I'd have these inspirations and I would do the processing, if you like. Okay, it's clear. It has been clear before. It could be clear again. You know, time's an illusion. But, and kind of ignoring the negative ego that was saying, what do you mean? Have you seen the state of it? And how could you ever cut through those bars on the buggy? You see how thick they are? They're pure metal. And anybody on this island would have any sort of equipment that is necessary. So ignoring all that and just thinking, oh, well, yeah, oh, well, and leaving it alone. And maybe it's more difficult to do that with perhaps somebody that's got a medical condition, that's living with a physical disability every day, because your reality, whatever we perceive as reality, is almost feeding back to you what is rather than what could be. I've put here, you know, when you've passed the trial, when you will know the importance of writing things down on waking. We were talking earlier. You will have an idea just pop into your head. You will react differently to TV shows and chance encounters. You will have a list of coincidences, inspirations, and dreams, and you will have recognized what you are particularly drawn to that sparks your creativity and invigorates you. And this is the particular one that I'd like your comments on. This trials, tips, and tricks. Why doesn't my soul, spirit, higher self just tell me? If you get irritated, and who doesn't, at the manner in which your inner self communicates or tries to communicate with you, then there is good reason why it does so in cloaked, metaphoric symbology. Some people have a strong urge to open a book, any book, and look at a certain page and read a sentence and find it applies to something they are dealing with. Others look to tarot cards or roll dice. We've cut ourselves off from many of the avenues through which this communication used to happen, and are so busy and stressed within the barrage of information and data being thrown at us this way and that it has become difficult to think clearly. It may be difficult, though not impossible. So before I continue, I just want to hand over to you.
So the image of a teacher appeared to me. And if you were taking a test, your teachers taught you what you're supposed to know. But the test, as you say, the trials, is for you. It's not for them just to give the answer. If they give you an answer key with every test, what would you actually learn? Does that make sense? So your higher self is there to give you hints, there to show you the way, there to keep you on course so you don't get that lost off. But unless you learn it yourself, you're not going to remember it. You're not going to get the lessons. You're not going to enjoy the rewards. It's got to be done by you.
Shauna's here. Good morning. Good morning, Shauna.
Oh, so we are live.
How about that?
I guess that answered that question now, didn't it? Sweetie, I'm just going to turn my mic off for a quick second, go grab my charger. Because we were chatting. So keep them entertained, Jen. I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay. I'll just switch it to me for the moment. There we are. My next chapter, my next part of the chapter is thinking for yourself and the value of sleep. Remembering the earlier trials, those of you who followed us, and if not, you can look back at the earlier trials on the Time to Shine Facebook group. Remembering the earlier trials, such as acknowledging where your thoughts come from, realize that on waking, your thoughts are your own. This is before you've been influenced by anything. This is before you've had even thoughts about going to the toilet on waking. On waking, your thoughts are your own. It's what's been going through your head all night. Think about that then. Where do your thoughts originate as soon as you awaken? The unconscious mind is completely in charge when you're fast asleep in bed at night. Your waking brain downloading. When you wake up in the morning, it is as if in that waking you get a download of information, of consciousness, as you become aware of where you are, and who you are with. At the moment, as you are waking, and many people wake up just before the alarm, isn't that strange? You may be wondering what the time is, and there is a remnant of a dream somewhere. You know who you are, your name, etc., and that is your consciousness coming back in. That does not mean that the unconscious goes somewhere when you are awake. It has far too many tasks to do for you, like that blinking and breathing that you're doing right now. So where does your consciousness go when you are asleep? That's interesting, isn't it?
That's brilliant, dude. I love that question.
Your conscious mind certainly goes somewhere when you're asleep, as we can tell by all kinds of equipment measuring brainwave activity, though the unconscious remains. It stays with you the whole time. It still tries to tell you about that dream during the day when you're far too busy to listen. Let's put Teresa back on. There you are. Hello. Hello.
Hey, baby. Oh, I love that whole line, that whole chapter. That's brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you.
And very relevant about what we were talking about, that I need to keep that dream journal, because I'm waking mid-evening or midnight, in the middle of the night, and I'm getting those downloads, and then consciously I'm not grabbing them when I wake up. So in the middle of the night, it makes perfect sense, and I'm like, of course I'll remember this. But then in the morning, I'm like, no, I don't remember it, damn it.
Well, that's very interesting as well, because I was very aware, and I am now, because, you know, I teach the NLP and the hypnosis stuff, about how we remember. And when I guide people through remembering, and even the rectilia activating system, which is what scientists call it when you suddenly think of something or want a green mini car and see them everywhere. It's almost if they've always been there, but now you're aware. So that's what they call awareness, you know. And also that they're missing out the law of attraction bit, that you actually start to draw things to you that you are interested in or focused upon. And when I've spoken to people, and I've done it myself, about finding things, and I like this pun, so I want to share the pun with you. There is a cupboard in the place I lived on my island, which I'm going to keep saying that. A cupboard full of condiments. You know, there was vinegar, there was marmalade, there was salt and pepper, and there was all sorts of things. You know, that kind of cupboard where there's no real food, but the stuff. And that's where the sauce was kept. And I like the term the sauce, because somebody went to the cupboard, opened the cupboard, and said, oh, there's no sauce. Where's the sauce? I'm sure the sauce was here. There's no sauce here. We need to go and get sauce, a particular type of sauce. And I knew the sauce was there. And almost irritated. But, you know, when you're irritated, but you're kind of given up and you think, I know the sauce is there. The sauce is there. The sauce isn't there. The sauce is there. Just say to yourself, I can see the sauce. I can see the sauce. I can see the sauce. Don't be so silly. Just say, I know the source is there. Just say, I can see the source. So they open the cupboard. I can see the source. I can see the source. Oh, I can see the source. It's almost like we kind of brainwash ourselves sometimes that this thing, because it's not jumping out at us, it can't be there, even if somebody else says it is. Because, and I'm making light of it, but I'm using it as a kind of metaphor to perhaps when people talk to you and ask you about certain things, and you say, your guidance is always there, but I can't see the source. The source isn't there. The source is always there. The source is always there. It's that we're blocking it, that we're not. If we believed it was there, even if we, like you said, temporarily suspended our disbelief, if we played along and think, okay, reluctantly, I'll just try and believe that the source is there just for a moment. Oh, I've done this with people that say they've lost their keys in their handbag and they're all frantic. The keys are there, the keys there. I can see the keys, I can see the keys. But back to the memory thing, which I'm just going to quickly tell you before I go get a drink and you can entertain people. The memory thing, if I'm attempting to think about who I mentioned something to, or who I was with last Christmas, or if I'm attempting to access my own memory banks about something, my train of thought, like retracing your steps to find your keys, my train of thought is always based on feeling. I don't know if other people's are. So I think about how I felt about the person. So I was saying this thing to this person. How did I feel about them? Was I very relaxed? Was it a work situation? Was I not relaxed? Was I having to worry about work? And I think I tune into the feeling, and that kind of is my vehicle back to the memory. So rather than environment, well, where was I? Who else was present? It's more like, how did I feel at that moment? And then I can kind of trace my memory till I get to the actual memory. And with me, as you mentioned it, it's a little bit like dreams. So I'm thinking, okay, there were people in my dream. How did I feel about them? How was I feeling about myself? What was the situation? Whereas I think, I don't know, but I think with other people, it's what was I wearing? What was the weather like? And I'm wondering if that's connected, because we're very special, aren't we, Teresa? We kind of blend the NLP and the hypnosis and the psychic stuff, all the insights together. Brilliant team. And I'm wondering if that is an NLP thing, that people are particularly visual, or they're auditory, or they're kinesthetic, or they're gustatory or olfactory and all of that. Or if that's kind of a logical assumption of something that is much more spiritual than perhaps we think. You know, that we tune into a particular sense in order to, we experience life somewhat differently to a person that it operates from a different modality, so to speak.
Yeah, I think there's a spiritual bond in there as well, for sure, Jen. And what it brings up to me is a lot of people they feel they don't have psychic gifts because they don't see something. But yet all of us feel. Feel is kind of our first psychic gift. It's a little bit trickier because the confirmations take some confidence and practice. But that feeling is very much psychic. It's very much something that we all possess. And it's a gift that not only you can access, like you're saying, with the going past. I was playing with all the scenarios that I could use it moving forward with people, and even just kind of understanding the separation of it. So not worrying about seeing it or hearing it or smelling it at the time, but just feel how you felt in that moment. Feel how you're going to feel when you're moving forward. Feel how you're going to feel when you're manifesting, like we're doing today. Feel how you're going to feel when you are releasing the past, when you're healing, when you are truly stepping into who you are.
I suppose that's why they use the phrase, the steps to getting there are the qualities of being there.
Yeah.
So what I love about you is you're far more forward thinking than many people I know, and especially myself, You're very much more solution focused as how will life be if everything is as you want them to be, as your ideal scenario, and not so much to forget about the past, but to use that as a backdrop against which the future plays out. For example, my situation about the swimming pool, I knew it was possible to have a clear swimming pool because I'd had a clear swimming pool. But looking at the murky mass in front of me, it was hard for me to think it would ever get back to how it was. And people, experts of the pool industry, tell me it can all be fixed if you've got a good filter. Of course, you don't have to siphon all the water out. You put this chemical in, you leave it running overnight, and everything gets filtered out, and you clean the filter or throw the filter away. How could that be possible? And it is. And so I suppose my next question is, how often do you refer to the past without getting enmeshed and pulled down into it, and just use that as something useful to catapult into the future?
2 points there. First of all, you were feeling the possibilities. That's why you made it happen. That first feel is the possibilities. You don't necessarily have to feel how good you're going to feel when it's clear. You just need to feel that it's possible to be clear. And then with the past is supposed to be like let's stay with the pool metaphor, like a diving board. It's supposed to be the springboard. So feel the past, yes, feel the diving board, but use it to spring off into where you want to go. So it's not a matter of being lost in the feeling, it's of using it as a launch to the next. And honestly, the easiest way to shift your focus is to feel the one way and then pick the opposite. So when you're in meh, that's the hardest time. But if you're feeling shitty, then pick the opposite of shitty. Right? Mm. That's easy to do. It's way easier to go from that one extreme to the next. We, as humans, we pulled the card extremes. We love to go extremes. So if you're going to use the past, use that extreme past to feel extremely amazing in the future. Like totally launch the springboard into the other end of the coin.
You're just skipping ahead. You're skipping ahead because we've got another chapter on the amazing phrasing trial, which is next week's. But we've also got a chapter called 5 minutes to flip it, which is exactly as you've described. So you carry on talking about that while I'm just going to nip and get a drink, and I'll just put you on full throttle. Wait, okay. That's me, not you. No. I'll work it out. You know me. There we go.
Yeah. And I love the idea of what we're talking about, this feelings thing, because we are an emotional body, and it plays such a bigger part than we realize. A lot of people who are playing this manifesting game, and we're talking about the law of attraction today, it is it's more than just that thoughts. You can't just think your way through it. Well, you can try, but where we get the really deep and the actual results, the results that we're looking for is when we feel it. It's our thoughts and our feelings that create the reality. It's not one or the other. And it's not just the thing is, the feelings can also be more powerful than the thoughts. So even if you're thinking happy thoughts, but you're feeling like crap, the feelings are going to be the driving force. So it's a matter of owning that the feelings are actually the driving force, followed by the thoughts. So you need to feel amazing, and then the thoughts will follow. That all of the big things are coming to you. And even if this is, this week we had the card abundance, and abundance isn't just things. It's not materialistic. It's feeling the plenitude. It's feeling the overflow. It's feeling this magnitude of wonderment without basing it on outside forces. So truly tapping into this abundance is actually about the inside story that we're talking about today. And everything happens in the inside story. Anyone who's worked with me before knows that once we can sit in, it's so fun. We can sit in session, we can make a decision and decide this is how it's going to be. And you'll be on the way home and you will get the confirmations. And this has happened time and time and time and time and time again. I cannot tell you how many times I've sat in session with somebody. Their outside forces have never changed. Their kids are still the same people. We've sat there thinking about how much we love those kids, how grateful we are for them, all the things and all the strengths. And then I'll get a call from the mom and it'll be like, you won't believe it, but on the way home, my kid just texted me how much they love me and how much they appreciate me. And they had nothing to do with what we were doing. It was all the inside story. And this scenario happens over and over again. We've done it with money. I've had people who we've been working on job offers and they're getting the offer on their way home. I had one lady who was getting the text as we were doing it. So this, folks, you have control. You have the ability to really create your reality and start living these dreams, living, you know, this inspired life, this impact that we really came here to do. Hey, Jen, you kind of scared me. You popped right on. I said a good roll there.
Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate at the moment on behalf of all the people that are probably wondering about certain details, and so picking my words carefully. But I want to play devil's advocate for a minute, just to understand this a lot more.
Bring it on.
I know I've witnessed it. It's been absolutely amazing what you've been able to do. And I want to kind of marry it up with what I do as well. And I just want to say, let's talk fear. Let's talk the big one. Because as we've discussed, there's only love and fear. And I think my interpretation of what you do, you put people into love. And that possibilities that you were talking about, when you said I was somehow able to embrace the possibility of having a clear pool, and reference the past for that to project into the future. There is no time anyway. So it's all about possibilities and love. Phobias. When within 5 minutes sometimes on stage or in private session, somebody's absolutely in front of me, absolutely terrified of something, and they would like me, because of my reputation, they would like me to cure them of it within minutes. And yet, consciously, they don't believe I can. But they have the hope. In the hope, Teresa, because let's say people have come to me, well, I don't think you can cure me of my fear of heights, and I'm absolutely terrified. I can't go up a step ladder, 2 rungs on a step ladder without going dizzy, and I don't believe you can do it, but I want you to give it your best shot. I'd say, you don't believe I can do it, why are you here? And they'd say, well, you stopped my husband smoking, he's been smoking for 40 years, and you're able to do that, so give it your best shot. So do you think somewhere there is a smidgen of belief? I mean, somebody that's terrified of moths, for example, do you think within them there is that, is that the insight that actually I know that this is irrational, because I believe on some level of my being that this isn't something that I ought to be scared of. It oughtn't to be a debilitating fear. When you say about beliefs, believing that it's possible, I suppose, even if one part of the person thinks it's impossible, is it there a certain part of them, their insight, their high self, etc., that's almost telling them it's possible, it's possible, it's possible to be rid of this fear, for example? Is that what drives them to come and seek help?
Yeah, and you're talking about a couple different energies here, Jen. Love is, everything is love, but the energy of hope is probably the most powerful energy I've ever experienced. And a lot of people come to see me that are hopeless. They have literally lost hope. And they obviously know that it hasn't gone far, because they're here for me to help bring it back. And once we bring back that energy of hope, then it's more powerful than phobias. It's more powerful than fears. It's more powerful than pain. It's more powerful than anything. That energy of hope. So love is one thing. Love is concrete. I feel love. Hope is that possibilities, that I may not know it all. I may not have all the answers. And she just might know more than I do.
It's interesting because in one of my books, when I'm describing a session and I've typed it out verbatim, you know, word for word, and a client was absolutely convinced I couldn't help them with weight control. And they tried everything. They've been Slimming World and Weight Watchers and all of this. They've had liposuction, they've had this, they've had that. That weren't convinced that I could help them, but they were there because I'd helped somebody else that they knew. And I said, oh, it's all right. I said, and often at the beginning I've said, so you've tried everything else, like with the smoking when people come in, so you've tried everything else. So this is the ObiWan Kenobi moment. And they say, what? Obi Kenobi, you're my only hope. I always call it the ObiWan Kenobi moment because they've usually tried everything else before they come into the big, bad, scary hypnotist. But there is part of them that is still, I mean, on another side of the coin, Teresa, I've also had people who've come to me because they've promised their wife or husband that they will try everything, and this is the last thing on the list, and they still don't really believe it's going to work, but hey, let's give it a shot. And I only need that little glimmer of hope like you do, even if it's borrowed from somebody else. Well, if your wife's paying for it or whatever, then maybe you can suspend your disbelief for a moment and see what we can do here. You know, we can kind of grappling around for that little sliver of hope, because it's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you nailed on something there too, Jen. Sometimes they can borrow a little bit of ours too, and that is where you and I are very special in this world, actually, because yeah, they may have nothing, but I can shower you in a minute, and just in that time it's enough to spark that again, spark that feeling that wait, maybe it's not over yet.
There's lots of similarities with us, but that is a big one, isn't it? Because yeah. I know when I first started doing these things on stage, Jennie had left the building. Jennie thought, so they imagine I'm going to be able to do this. Well, I'm supposed to be able to do this, and I do it with my private clients, etc. But now I've got 200 people, and they want me to do this right here on stage now, and the person in front of me says they don't believe it's going to work. Hello? So because I'd seen so many people and I know that it had worked, there was a part of me that thought there's no difference between it being done here on stage with hundreds of people watching than me doing it in private session with this person. And I know it will work in private session. I know I've had that many successes with this particular thing. I know it's going to work. And I think, like you say, it was my belief on many occasions that I thought, I don't need you to believe it. I'm going to do it, and you're going to experience it. And that's why I use the acronym WISE. Don't need you to believe everything I say. I just want you to be willing, be interested, and when it's successful, because I know it will be, I want you to enjoy.
Oh, I like that.
And then it'll be its own loop. Just be willing, be interested, have the success, and you've got to promise me that when you've got that success, you're going to enjoy it so that it keeps coming back round to the beginning. Be wise.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's an excellent thing. And also, maybe we'll end on that too. Look at all the times that you have manifested in your life. Look at all the times that you have been successful. Look at all the times that you have been taken care of. And then repeat. Rinse and repeat. Okay, guys, that is our 60 minutes. This was amazing. I don't know if you got any comments, Jen, because I can't see them on my phone. But if you are watching the replay and you want to comment, please do. Jennie's going to be my beautiful monitor this week for me. And then we'll see you the following Saturday. What's our next trial?
It's the one you jumped the gun on. So it's no, you were a couple of chapters ahead. So next week's trial 8, the thank you, may I have another trial.
Ooh. Gratitude energy. That came up a couple times today. I love it.
Positive.
Thank you, sir.
Getting more of them. It's all going to be great. Thank you. Can I have another? We do it when things go wrong. We don't always do it when things go right. You know, some things are, it's too good to be true, people say. Nothing is ever so bad as to be untrue. Yeah? So we want people to say, that's too good to be true. And can I have another one, please? I'm going to start believing that things can be wonderfully true and brilliant and fabulous for me. So if I thank you, I can have another one. I want to get into that energy of accepting all the good stuff that happens. That's our next trial. Thank you. May I have another?
Thank you. And thank you, everybody who joined today and who's joining the replay. And we will see you all soon. Have a great day.
Bye.